Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into the Honkai Star Rail tier list for version 3.7, updated for November 2025. We've gone through every 5-star and 4-star character and rated how well they perform in overall play, general content, and of course the real test, endgame. All rankings are based on characters at E0 with their ideal setups, so what you see here reflects their true baseline power. If you're curious about why a character landed in a specific tier, you can simply hover over their icon in the overall section to see a quick explanation. Now keep in mind that we don't just look at raw strength. Characters who rely too heavily on certain team comps, buffs, or enemy types lose a few points in their overall and general ratings. The endgame in HSR changes constantly, with different stage effects and enemy rotations, so this list will keep evolving as the game does. That means some favorites climb or drop depending on how the meta shifts. Alright, let's get into it and see who's dominating version 3.7. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking characters in Honkai Star Rail. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching! The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Trailblazer Physical and Arlen. If you've ever watched your team fight and thought, wow, this could definitely be going better, then welcome to the wonderful world of our C-tier heroes. Let's start with the Trailblazer in the physical attribute, the very first version of ourselves that dishes out direct physical damage and also launches those small area blast hits. They can stack their own attack bonus whenever they trigger a weakness break, and technically they can even heal the whole team by using their technique before entering battle. But let's be honest, when the Space Anchor exists, using that technique is kind of like insisting on brewing your own coffee when there's a free cafe right next to you. Functional? Sure. Practical? Debatable. Now moving over to Arlen, who is basically playing the I suffer therefore I hit harder game, but without any of Blade's elegance, safety nets, or general sense of self-preservation. Arlen increases his damage based on how much health he's missing, and he even has a built-in way to heal himself, but only when his health is below 20% and he lands the finishing blow. That's not a mechanic. That's a trust fall exercise with no one standing behind you. In a game where you cannot dodge incoming attacks, characters like Arlen become a high-risk puzzle that your healer probably does not want to solve, especially if their turn order is slower. Fun? Yes. Safe? Absolutely not. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Natasha, March 7th, Trailblazer Fire, Serval, Hook, Yanqing, Yukong, Misha, Luca, Sampo, Dan Heng, and Sushang. Natasha is basically the starter pack healer everyone receives, and honestly, she carries new players harder than they carry their phone chargers. She can heal one ally directly, remove a debuff, and even apply healing over time with her skill. Her ultimate tosses a nice team-wide heal on top of everything. The catch? In late-game content where enemies spam area of effect debuffs like a Festival of Suffering, Natasha simply cannot cleanse fast enough. Everyone wants skill points, and Natasha wants them too, so someone's going to be disappointed. March 7th, truly the cutest girl in the universe, loves one thing, shielding her friends and firing off counterattacks the moment someone dares to touch that shield. Her damage is nothing to brag about though. The numbers are so low you might wonder if she's using a toy bow. But her ultimate? Now that's where the magic happens. Freezing every enemy on the field is a lifesaver, especially in the simulated universe using the Remembrance Path. The Trailblazer in the Fire attribute is your reliable, I'll take the hit, you guys relax teammate. Their skill gives them a taunt and reduces incoming damage, turning them into a walking safety barrier. And when their ultimate goes off, suddenly the entire crew gets a shield. Sure, the ultimate deals some damage based on defense, but let's be real. This Trailblazer is here to protect, not to flex damage numbers. Serval is one of the rare erudition characters who cares more about making enemies suffer over time than burst nuking everything instantly. She applies shock, keeps the damage over time going longer with her ultimate, and becomes even stronger after defeating an enemy. Against a group of mobs, she feels amazing. Against a boss? Well, the electricity suddenly becomes a lot less impressive. Hook, the supreme leader of the moles, is built for beating up bosses, one solid target at a time. Her skill hits a single enemy, and after using her ultimate, she can tag the enemies standing next to that main target as well. She has that scrappy, I can fight anyone personality, and if it is a single target fight, she really can. Yanking is one of those 5-star characters who shines bright, if you can keep him untouched. His entire kit revolves around maintaining his offensive buff by avoiding damage, and this is where life gets messy. In battles with many enemies, something is bound to hit him, even if you bring the world's strongest taunter. Once he gets bonked, his buff disappears and the dream ends, but if you manage to keep him completely safe, his damage becomes absolutely worth the stress. Yukong is a support character who refuses to be a background actor. Her ultimate deals respectable damage, and she can give the team attack, critical rate, and critical damage buffs. However, she comes with a little homework assignment. You must tune her speed perfectly so she acts right before your main damage dealer. Beginners often struggle with this. Speed tuning is an art, but once you master her setup, Yukong becomes a powerhouse buffer. Misha is a damage dealer whose entire personality revolves around his ultimate. The more skill points your team spends, the stronger his ultimate becomes, very similar to how Jing Yuan powers up his Lightning Lord. His ultimate hits hard and can bounce between enemies, making him fun to use in multi-enemy situations. Just make sure your team is consuming skill points, like they're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Luca steps into the ring as a single-target damage overtime fighter, specializing in bleed. His ultimate increases the target's damage taken, giving him a nice bit of team utility too. However, because he's a hybrid between damage dealer and debuffer, his debuffing strength doesn't match true specialists like Pella or Silver Wolf. Still, he punches hard, literally, and brings consistent pressure. Sampo is the secret treasure of the 4-star roster. He is another damage overtime specialist, but unlike Luca, he can spread the suffering by bouncing hits to multiple enemies. He stacks wind shear quickly and efficiently, and if the enemy happens to be a boss weak to wind, things get spicy fast. His ultimate boosts all damage overtime effects the enemy takes, making him the dream support for any damage overtime team. Dan Heng may be a starter character, but he's far from basic. With the right light cone and relics, his damage climbs from pretty good to, wait a minute, why is he hitting so hard? He can slow enemies using his skill, and when he attacks slowed enemies, his damage skyrockets even more. He's simple, strong, and reliable, a perfect beginning companion. Sushang rounds out the list with some of the highest single-target damage you can get from a 4-star character. She hits even harder when the enemy is under weakness break, and if you unlock her first Eidolon, she also helps your team recover skill points. She's fast, she's strong, and she's exactly the kind of character who makes single-target fights feel like speedruns. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Seele, Himeko, Clara, Hanya, Gepard, Bailu, Ginaifen, Welt, Herta, Zhuei, and Qingque Seele may be one of the older limited characters, but she is absolutely still premium-grade damage. Her single-target output is massive, and it only gets scarier when you stack her with the best buffers like Tingyun or Bronya. With her naturally high speed, she takes turns like she has a VIP lane in every battle, and the moment she defeats an enemy, she immediately gets another turn, which is how the whole Infinite Turn Seele legend was born. When she gets going, the fight basically becomes a one-woman show. Himeko operates a lot like Jing Yuan. She might be from the erudition path, but her true power comes from those sweet follow-up attacks. Her kit excels at covering multiple enemies, so when the battlefield looks like a crowd at a concert, she's at her best. Pure Fiction mode becomes her personal playground, because that's where her follow-ups and massive area of effect damage truly shine. Clara brings her guardian Svarog to the fight, and honestly, Svarog feels like the real damage dealer half the time. Clara's entire playstyle revolves around drawing enemy attacks and letting Svarog counter everything that moves. With Svarog shielding her and even cleansing debuffs from her, she becomes incredibly sturdy. Against enemies that spam debuffs or love attacking multiple times, Clara can feel like an unbreakable fortress. Hanya stands out as a support who helps teams that constantly burn through skill points. She can actually restore one skill point when her team meets certain conditions, making her perfect for skill-hungry lineups. But she is not just a skill point generator. She can increase an enemy's damage taken if they're already afflicted with her burden debuff, and she can boost the attack and damage output of a chosen ally. Teams that rely heavily on frequent skill usage love having her around. Gepard might not heal, but what he does provide is team-wide shielding so strong it might as well be full armor plating. His taunt effect makes enemies more likely to target him instead of fragile teammates, which keeps everyone safer, and his talent lets him survive a fatal hit and come back with full energy, giving him another chance to drop his ultimate barrier right when it matters most. With the right build, he can maintain shield uptime so efficiently that your team barely takes damage at all. Bailu's normal healing numbers won't surprise anyone. They're solid but standard for a 5-star. What does set her apart is her ability to revive a fallen ally, something no other character can do under normal conditions. This makes her a huge asset in modes like Forgotten Hall or Simulated Universe, where one mistake can end a run. The only downside is that she can revive someone once per battle, unless you're one of the blessed few who own her at Eidolon. 6 Gneifen spices things up by specializing in burning enemies alive, politely of course. She spreads burn status efficiently and increases the damage taken by any enemy suffering from it. She performs best in teams built around damage overtime strategies, where her ability to amplify the pain really shines. Welt is a wonderfully flexible character who can act as both a debuffer and a sub-damage dealer. His defining move is slowing enemies with his abilities and delaying their turns using his ultimate. Slowed enemies take more damage and act far less often, turning difficult battles into leisurely strolls. Welt makes fights feel extremely comfortable once everything on the enemy side becomes sluggish. Herta is one of the most valuable free characters in the entire game, a true diamond in the rough. She specializes in area damage and triggers follow-up attacks whenever an enemy's health drops low, which is perfect for modes like Pure Fiction where waves of mobs keep pouring in. Against groups, she's amazing, almost unstoppable. But when the fight turns into a one-on-one boss duel, her performance drops sharply. Shui brings a unique mix of follow-up attacks and ultimate impact. What makes her really stand out is the fact that her ultimate reduces an enemy's toughness bar, even if they do not have a quantum weakness. This gives her excellent consistency when breaking shields, and lets her shine in teams that care about controlling enemy actions. Chinke is our beloved gambler. When luck is on your side and she gets the right tiles to enter her hidden hand state, her damage skyrockets far beyond what you'd expect from a 4-star. She becomes even more ridiculous if she picks up the best propagation path blessings in the simulated universe. When the stars align, Chinque easily climbs above a tier. But like any gambler, her performance depends entirely on luck. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Dr. Ratio, Jing Yuan, Topaz and Numbi, Argenti, Pella, Black Swan, Trailblazer Imaginary, Imbibitor Lunai, March 7th Imaginary, Mose, Luocha, Lynx, and Asta. Dr. Ratio continues to be the funniest cosmic joke the game has ever pulled, because for a free 5-star, he absolutely does not perform like one. This genius fires off massive single-target damage that rivals premium banner units, and plenty of players willingly pull Eidolons for him simply because he's that powerful. His follow-up attacks are the main course on his menu, and while they trigger most easily when enemies have 3 debuffs on them, that's honestly not a hard requirement to meet in modern teams. Stack some debuffs on the enemy, press buttons, and watch him go wild. Jing Yuan, the man who somehow looks like he's permanently doing a photo shoot, shines once his Lightning Lord starts stacking hits per action. The more stacks the Lightning Lord has, the harder he smacks. This puts Jing Yuan in a fantastic spot whenever multiple enemies have a lightning weakness. Unlike Argenti, whose ultimate is his spotlight moment, Jing Yuan thrives on follow-up attacks, and the results speak for themselves. Topaz and Numbi are basically a package deal, where Numbi is absolutely the main damage dealer, no questions asked. Topaz marks a single enemy with proof of dead, and that debuff lets Numbi, and any other follow-up attacker, shred the target even harder. She's perfect in teams built around follow-up damage, Dr. Ratio, Jing Yuan, Mose, and others, because she boosts exactly the type of damage those teams want. Argenti remains one of the strongest area of effect damage dealers in the entire game. His ultimate has 2 levels depending on how much energy he has stored, and the fully charged version looks and feels like a divine punishment from above. Of course, he's an erudition character, so he's not built for single-target boss duels. But when enemies come in groups, or a boss summons underlings, Argenti becomes an absolute knight in shining armor. Literally, Pella is like Silver Wolf's cousin who decided to focus on helping the whole classroom instead of tutoring one student. She shreds defense on multiple enemies at once and can also remove buffs using her skill, which is extremely valuable in high-end content. She's easy to build, works with almost every damage dealer, and is one of the most free-to-play friendly debuffers in the entire roster. She's simple, flexible, and unbelievably efficient. Black Swan isn't the character you pick when you want a big ultimate moment. She's the character who builds a DOT storm that slowly turns into a catastrophic explosion. Her playstyle revolves around stacking Arcana on enemies, and each stack makes the eventual damage much stronger. She gains Arcana stacks whenever she or her allies apply damage over time effects, which makes her perfect for DOT-oriented teams like Kafka's. Once the Arcana detonates, well, the battlefield turns into a war crime scene. Trailblazer Harmony is surprisingly effective for a free unit, but they're at their best when paired with characters who deal damage based on break effect. In those setups, Trailblazer Harmony enables massive super break damage and becomes extremely valuable. They're easy to use, easy to build, and can reach almost constant ultimate uptime for new players, or for anyone lacking strong supports. Trailblazer Harmony feels like a blessing. Dan Heng Imbibitor Lune, cooler Dan Heng, focuses on incredibly strong enhanced basic attacks that can hit up to 3 enemies in a blast pattern. The catch is that he burns through skill points faster than some players burn stamina refreshes. You'll need teammates like Tingyun, Ruin Mei, or Sparkle to keep his SP economy healthy. Build the right setup around him, and he becomes one of the most explosive damage dealers in the game. March 7th in the Hunt Path is one of those moments where the developers said, "Here, have another ridiculously strong free unit." She's a 4-star this time, but her versatility is amazing. You can build her with a critical hit setup or as a break effect monster, which opens her to a variety of team compositions. She deals great sub-DPS damage, buffs her Shifu, and becomes even better once we eventually get her remaining free Eidolons in the future. Mose is a follow-up support unit that rivals Topaz in effectiveness, and that's saying something. He deals unusually high toughness damage for a character not built around breaks, and he is untargetable for most of the fight, which makes his poor defensive stats completely irrelevant. He's also perfectly neutral with skill points, and fits into any follow-up team with ease. His biggest issue is that he struggles with energy regeneration and brings almost nothing to non-follow-up teams. But if you're running Ratio, Topaz, Jingyuan, or similar units, Mose feels like he was made for them. Luocha stands as one of the best emergency healers in the game. His skill and talent keep allies alive through sudden damage spikes, and his ultimate doesn't just heal, it also hits all enemies and removes buffs from them. Whenever you're dealing with enemies who constantly stack defensive or offensive buffs, Luocha turns the fight into a much smoother experience. Lynx may not heal as hard as a 5-star, but what she brings to the table is incredibly valuable. She's free. She can cleanse debuffs from the entire party, and she works beautifully with destruction units who benefit from taking damage, Blade being the most iconic example. With modern enemies inflicting more debuffs than ever, Lynx's team-wide cleansing makes her borderline essential for many compositions. Asta is the wealthy, overachieving queen of Herta Space Station, and her kit shows exactly why she's adored. She buffs the team's attack through her talent and boosts speed across the board with her skill, which is one of the strongest supportive effects in the entire game. She can also make burning enemies take increased fire damage, which is a nice bonus for fire-oriented teams. Asta is especially strong in damage over time teams, where high speed is king. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Cyrene, Acheron, Maide, Archer, Firefly, Cypher, Sirydra, Yunli, Sparkle, Bronya, Trailblazer Ice, Saber, Jingliu, Blade, Boothill, Rappa, Fugue, Gallagher, High Silence, Fushuan, Jiaokyu, Tingyun, Aglaya, Jade, Kafka, and Silver Wolf. Cyrene is basically the Chrysos Heir's supreme booster, the kind of character who walks into battle and makes an entire team feel like they just upgraded their hardware. She hands out passive damage percentage buffs, adds true damage like it is free candy, and gives each Chrysos Heir their own curated power-up. The wildest part? Her very first ultimate instantly fills everyone else's ultimate meter, which is the closest thing this game has to pressing a skip combat button. Outside of Chrysos' air teams, she slows down a bit, and she eats up quite a lot of skill points during her ramp-up. But when she is in her element, she takes a good team and turns it into a highlight reel. Acheron is technically a nihility character, but let us be real, nothing about her playstyle says weakening enemies. She weakens them by deleting them from existence, which is honestly a valid strategy. Her entire kit revolves around stacking debuffs, but not for survival or control. For powering up a personal thunderstorm of pure damage. She does not even need energy to use her ultimate. She just needs her team to keep applying debuffs like an assembly line. Sure, she is not friendly to free-to-play players since her best light cones and teammates are premium picks. But when everything lines up, she reaches a damage ceiling so high it counts as a weather phenomenon. Maide is the kind of character who steps onto the field and instantly announces, "Good news, I simply do not die." He is completely immune to death and crowd control effects while boasting gigantic health scaling, enormous stat boosts, and taunts that make enemies obsess over him. Because he gets hit constantly, his energy economy is fantastic, letting him cycle ultimates like a machine. The trade-off is that he sometimes locks himself into automated combat during his Vendetta mode, which means you only get manual control for his ultimate. Great for raw power, slightly annoying for mechanics-heavy fights. Still, with both offensive and defensive numbers that look like a bug report, Maide is a walking fortress with a grudge. Archer is an absurd single-target specialist who seems to think the rule "one skill per turn" does not apply to him, because he can fire off up to 5 skills in a single round. His personal damage amplification scales like crazy, his toughness damage is great, and he benefits a ton from external debuffs. The catch is that he devours skill points like a starving beast, so he works best with supports who can feed him non-stop. His gameplay is extremely focused on one target, making him less ideal in wide-area content. But if you want something erased from the timeline, Archer is your guy, complete with his iconic chant before he unleashes his ultimate. Firefly looks adorable until she transforms into a flying furnace mech hybrid that melts reality. She is one of the strongest break damage characters ever designed, and unlike others in her category, she has blazing fast speed, rapid energy generation, and the ability to implant fire weakness on enemies who normally do not have it. Once she enters complete combustion mode, the damage spikes so violently that capital letters feel necessary when talking about her fire damage output. Her only real weakness is that her ideal team compositions are currently limited, but when the stars align, Firefly is a walking supernova cipher. Is what happens when a support unit decides to become a passive-aggressive damage amplifier with a permanent 40% vulnerability aura. She constantly tags enemies, stores her team's damage inside her talent like a battery, then fires a massive true damage nuke when the time is right. She is unbelievably fast, extremely skill point friendly, and surprisingly sturdy for a unit that focuses on utility. Her personal damage is low without major investment, and she requires extremely high speed to reach full potential. But in the hands of someone paying attention, Cypher plays like a genius-level assistant who remembers everything your team does and weaponizes it. Suraidra is the dream partner for characters who rely on heavy skill damage, letting them unleash 2 fully powered skills back-to-back like they are cheating the system. She hands out attack buffs, extra damage, and speed boosts, all while maintaining solid energy flow. Her effectiveness is especially notable when paired with skill-focused units like Phanon. Her limitation is that she only supports skill damage specifically, giving her a narrower roster of ideal partners, and she tends to run fully negative on skill points when optimized. Still, for the characters who match her style, Suraidra feels like a turbo button. Yunli hits incredibly hard, but her full potential revolves around getting repeatedly attacked, something her signature light cone dramatically improves by increasing her chance of being targeted. Without that light cone, she becomes far more inconsistent, often needing links to force enemies to hit her. Her ultimate is designed to be used before an enemy acts, so she rewards active, thoughtful play instead of auto-battle button mashing. If you master her timing, Yunli becomes a high-impact bruiser. If not, she becomes an overqualified bystander. Sparkle breaks the game's economy by raising your skill point maximum by 2, which sounds tiny until you actually try it and realize it is like opening a skill point checking account with a massive bonus. She is perfect for characters who consume skill points aggressively, and she also amplifies damage through skill point usage itself. On top of that, she has a Bronya-style turn advance, although hers is 50% instead of 100%. She may play the mischievous jester, but her impact on team tempo is no joke. Bronya is the gold standard of Harmony supports and has remained relevant from early game to end game with ease. She boosts critical damage for the entire party, advances allies to take immediate turns, and can turn any main damage dealer into a monster with proper timing. Her kit feels like cheating, because in many ways, it absolutely is, and that is why she continues to dominate the meta. This version of the Trailblazer is an unexpectedly powerful support, who hands out critical damage buffs for free and constantly advances ally turns with 0 skill point cost. They also provide massive true damage amplification for a chosen ally and have one of the most impactful techniques for entering battle with an advantage. Their flexibility is remarkable. The only drawback is that choosing this form means locking yourself out of the other Trailblazer paths, but honestly, it is still worth it. Saber is a burst machine with heavy critical bonuses, strong energy management, and destructive area of effect attacks. Yes, a destruction character with multiple wide hits, she can even store excess energy to time her ultimate perfectly. She does struggle in full area of effect battles if her ultimate bounces get wasted, and her strongest team compositions are expensive. But when piloted correctly, she is one of the most explosive damage dealers available. Jingliu enters battle with a cold elegance and then immediately shifts into a powered-up state where her critical rate and critical damage skyrocket. Her enhanced skill turns her into a blizzard of blades, striking so hard that bosses simply do not get the chance to respond. Few characters scale as brutally with investment as she does. Making her one of the most rewarding damage dealers to build Blade continues to be a fan favorite because he turns his health bar into a weapon. He sacrifices health to empower attacks, but then heals himself through his talent, making him extremely stable. He also uses very few skill points, acting as a dream partner for skill point-hungry teammates. Whether you play him as a main damage dealer or bring him as secondary support damage for characters like Jingliu, Blade is dependable and impactful. Boothill is a gunslinging maniac who insists on giving every enemy physical weakness whether they like it or not. Because he specializes in break damage, he is incredibly easy to build. Just stack break effect and speed, and he will delete weakness-broken targets with absurd numbers. He struggles slightly if the enemy resists physical damage, but in most boss battles, Boothill feels like a demolition expert. Rappa is built around destructive break damage with constant toughness shredding, native super break, and passive enemy break damage amplification. She breaks rules, breaks shields, breaks sanity, she just breaks. Her one issue is how heavily she relies on her ultimate for big damage. Without steady break setups or an additional super break source, she cannot reach her maximum power, but in the right lineup, she shreds everything. Fugue is the reason modern break teams feel like science fiction. She introduces Exo Toughness, allowing enemies to be broken a second time, and lets allies ignore elemental weakness when dealing toughness damage. She supplies break effect, free delay against broken targets, and even defense reductions. Her ultimate is pricey and not very impressive, but her passive output is so strong that she elevates break teams by simply existing. Gallagher is a very unusual healer. He heals allies, yes, but he also debuffs enemies with his besotted status, making them take more break damage. His direct healing is lower than standard healers, especially in area of effect fights, but during the era of Firefly and Boothill, his ability to boost break damage becomes extremely valuable. If you want comfort healing, Lynx is better, but Gallagher fills a niche that break teams absolutely adore. Hysolins is a dream for damage over time team fans. She spreads every elemental damage over time type, stacks debuffs naturally as the team attacks, and detonates all active damage over time instances with her ultimate at shocking efficiency. She even reduces attack and applies vulnerability. She does require high effect hit rate and absolutely depends on Kafka to reach full potential, but when built correctly, she turns battles into a ticking time bomb. Fu Xuan redefines tanking by redirecting damage from the whole party to herself, using her matrix of prescience. She increases critical rate for the team, triggers crowd control whenever she forms her matrix, and heals herself once she drops below half health if her talent charges remain. She does not match Preservation Blessing synergy in Simulated Universe perfectly, but her raw value in normal content is so high that it hardly matters. Zhao Q is a debuff machine who instantly improves any damage dealer reliant on ultimate attacks. He applies multiple vulnerability types, reduces defense, and keeps his debuffs active nearly 100% of the time, even through new waves and spawned enemies. He is simple to use and incredibly reliable, especially inside Acheron teams. Outside of them, he competes with stronger Harmony supports, but he always performs well. Tingyun remains the queen of 4-star buffers, providing an enormous attack boost, energy regeneration, and great single-target enhancement. She does not help characters who scale off unconventional stats, like Blade's health scaling, but for the majority of damage dealers, Tingyun delivers disproportionate value for her rarity. With multiple Eidolons, she becomes even more impressive. Aglaia is an explosive burst unit who launches herself forward with a 100% action advance on her ultimate and gains massive personal speed and attack. She is skill point efficient, thanks to her enhanced basic attack, and triggers on-hit effects twice with her joint attack, making her fantastic alongside units like Robin. Her ultimate cost is extreme and her power relies heavily on premium characters, but with the right team, she becomes a festival of explosions. Jade shines brightest in wide area battles because her talent stacks charges quickly whenever another damage dealer attacks, letting her unleash devastating follow-up damage. She works best as a sub-damage dealer paired with a strong main damage dealer, ideally one who can hit multiple targets. Her single-target performance improves massively at Eidolon 1, but even without it, she is incredibly easy to build due to her massive free critical damage scaling. Kafka thrives when surrounded by other damage over time units, alone. She is solid but not spectacular. With partners like Black Swan, Sampo, or Gwynaifen, she becomes the detonator for a damage over time death parade. Together, they cause enemies to melt under layers of stacking effects, making every turn a fireworks show of suffering. Silverwolf gives players the power of forced mono-element teams by implanting new elemental weaknesses onto enemies. This makes her invaluable in boss fights where targeting a single enemy matters most. She also applies enormous defense shred with her ultimate. However, her single target focus means she is less effective in larger encounters. For bosses, she is a top-tier enabler. For mobs, she is specialized but still useful. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Phynon, the Herta, Castoriche, Anaxa, Sunday, Tribby, Evernight, Robin, Ruinmei, Hyacine, Permansor Terai, Aventurine, Fake Xiao, Lingsha, and Huohuo. Phynon is an incredibly straightforward yet overwhelmingly powerful hyper-carry, whose ultimate transforms him into a boss-like monster with massive durability, CC immunity, and death resistance. He thrives in teams without sustain and scales absurdly well with short-duration buffs, allowing him to shred single-target encounters like nothing else. While extremely reliant on strong relics and careful management of his taunt, he offers unmatched damage when properly invested, making him one of the strongest and most future-proof DPS units in the game. Herta shines as one of the most valuable free characters thanks to her scaling AoE and consistent follow-up attacks, making her an exceptional choice for pure fiction, where enemies spawn in waves. While she collapses in single-target fights and shouldn't be brought into boss battles, her ability to clean up hordes of enemies with minimal investment makes her a sleeper powerhouse in the right mode. Castorice boasts outstanding damage output backed by enormous HP scaling, complete SP neutrality, and a flexible kit that fits into many team styles. With self-buffs, strong utility, Netherwing RES pen, and a consistent ultimate cycle fueled by her unique energy mechanic, she performs reliably across a wide variety of battles. However, she requires heavy stat investment, lacks good F2P light cones, and cannot function with shield-based sustain, which slightly limits her ideal setups. Anaxa is a highly versatile damage dealer who excels in both main DPS and sub-DPS roles, thanks to his unmatched ability to rapidly implant all 7 weakness types on every enemy. This enables entire teams to break enemies consistently while he dishes out strong single target and toughness damage. Although his AoE output is modest for an erudition unit and he competes with other niche specialists, his flexible rotations and synergy with top-tier DPS compositions make him incredibly valuable. Sunday is a premier Harmony support who delivers long-lasting crit, DMG, and SPD buffs while offering a 100% single-target action advance and powerful energy regeneration for allies. His kit makes SPD tuning and burst optimization extremely easy, and he even provides unique benefits to summon-based characters as the roster grows. Although energy issues can arise without the right light cone, and there aren't many summon units yet, Sunday remains one of the strongest and most universal buffers available. Tribby is a rare Harmony character with strong personal damage thanks to HP scaling, RESPEN, and a reliable follow-up attack that triggers frequently. She's flexible enough to slot into nearly any team, and becomes especially potent when paired with AoE attackers who accelerate her ultimate generation. While she requires high investment to reach peak performance, her SP efficiency and universal value make her a standout support damage hybrid. Evernight is an exceptional DPS with tremendous HP scaling, high personal multipliers, and powerful team-wide buffs for memo sprites, making her deadly in both main DPS and sub-DPS roles. She brings vulnerability with her ultimate, generates impressive SP, and benefits significantly from player skill thanks to a high mastery curve. Despite poor F2 P light cone options and a reliance on mastering her mechanics, her damage ceiling and scaling potential are among the best in the game. Robin is a universal top-tier buffer who empowers nearly any team with massive DMG and crit DMG boosts while enabling instant team turns through her ultimate. Despite the misconception that she only excels in follow-up attack teams, she actually enhances a wide range of compositions and provides incredible value in modes like Pure Fiction. Her immediacy, utility, and synergy with countless DPS units make her one of the most versatile support characters in the entire roster. Ruin Mei is a powerhouse support whose kit delivers all-type RES pen, weakness break efficiency, DMG boosts, and essential SPD buffs, all in a single skill with huge uptime. She excels in SP-hungry teams and provides crucial control through her ultimate, which delays enemies affected by Thanatoplum Rebloom. Her combination of offense, utility, and battlefield manipulation makes her arguably the best all-around Harmony unit in the game. Hyacine is an elite healer known for her outstanding party-wide sustain, passive regeneration, and consistent cleansing, all while dealing surprisingly strong damage with guaranteed crits. Her ability to scale with SPD and HP makes her ideal for teams relying on HP scaling. DPS, and she performs exceptionally well even with F2 P light cone options. While she relies heavily on her ultimate for maximum value, her overall utility and versatility make her a top-tier support pick. Permansortere is a highly efficient shielder who maintains strong, consistent shields while offering powerful ATK buffs and rare multipliers for bondmate synergies. Completely free at launch and blessed with excellent SP and energy economy, he works extremely well in hypercarry teams and enhances summon-based effects on allies. Although his value dips for non-ATK scaling DPS and light cone options are limited, he remains an incredibly strong and cost-efficient Sustain Aventurine is an upgraded, more versatile version of Gepard with stackable shields, constant uptime, and additional offensive utility through enemy debuffs. His capability to deal respectable damage elevates him into a hybrid shielder sub-DPS role, making him far more impactful in both offense and defense compared to traditional preservation units. His sturdy, flexible kit firmly positions him as one of the best defensive characters in the game. Fake Xiao is an explosive single-target hypercarry with incredible consistency, no setup requirements, and a generous energy overcap system that enables double ultimate rotations. Her high toughness damage, flexible team options, and ease of use make her reliable in nearly any fight, though AoE still relies on teammates. Despite her openness, her absolute best teams are limited and expensive, often requiring Robin and other premium units, but her damage remains exceptional regardless. Lingsha is a break archetype juggernaut who delivers massive toughness damage, strong healing, rapid debuff cleansing, and exceptional break DMG amplification for the whole team. Powered by Fuyuan's consistent follow-ups and her excellent energy economy, she provides some of the most reliable sustain and break synergy in the entire game. Though she requires high SPD and isn't as SP positive as some supports, her overall impact is second to none in break-focused teams. Huo Huo is a top-tier AoE healer with strong off-field regeneration, debuff removal, and consistent team-wide sustain, making her perfect for encounters with frequent AoE damage. While her single-target healing lacks the punch of Luocha and can feel underwhelming against heavy boss hits, her utility and comfort in multi-target battles make her one of the best defensive options available. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.